Okay, we have liftoff. All right. So let's see where to start here. We're just going to jump right into this. So we're going to do a quick clear, and then we are going to, let me find what I had written in this originally. Clear, and then we're going to tune for resonant electromagnetic fields. We're going to tune our resonant electromagnetic fields. And just so that everything is really coherent, and then I'm going to go through the information. And then you're going to understand the loving life mysterious ways part, because what I wrote in here was I'm doing a session tonight for clearing and tuning resonant electromagnetic fields, and then loving life's mysterious ways. And it's more about the loving life mysterious ways, but you can't get there unless you do the other stuff first. Most people wouldn't get there if you didn't do the other stuff first. So you have to be super coherent in order to see what we're going to go looking for. And if you don't get there, just understand that you can try again. Don't bash yourself. Don't come unglued. I can't do this. Don't do any of that stuff. I did not mean the whiny voice. I was not pointing at anybody. That was super funny. Somebody actually did that to me the other day. I didn't do this. And I like came back at him with the same voice. I was like, okay, that was not nice. That was bad. But just know, like, sometimes this is an effort that you have to kind of work yourself through, but do it very, with a very open, curious mind, because if you get really like trying to plow through it, you'll never get there. Back up, take a few breaths, and then proceed again. Let me tell you one more story, just because this was super cute and fun. I was at the Natural Grocers in Ogden the other day, and just picky. I was actually hungry and looking for gluten-free donuts, but don't tell anybody that. And I don't know what I ended up getting. They didn't have any, but I got some vitamins and some other stuff. And I'm checking out, and this lady who was apparently older, oh, please don't die, my computer's being wonky. She was apparently older than I am, and I wouldn't have given her that. I would have thought we were around the same age. Was checking out my stuff. So she's like checking me out. And when I first walked up, I was like, how are you doing? Because she didn't say anything. I'm like, how are you doing? And she goes, well, and I was struggling that day. I was like in huge struggle. But she goes, well, the universe. And then she stopped. And I was like, I got slapped in the face. I was like, oh. And I took this deep breath, and I was like, oh, back in. And I said it out loud. I was like, back into your heart space. like I just remembered all of a sudden when she said universe. And she looked at me and like shook her head. And she was like, what did you just say? And I was like, back into your heart space. And she was like, oh my gosh. She was like, and then instead of ringing me up, she's like clutching her heart. And she's like, I needed that. I was like, I did too. Like the second you said universe, I was like, where did I go? What am I doing all day? I was just like struggling with everything. Back into your heart space. Back into the cosmos, back into, and I stood there talking to her for a few minutes, ended up giving her my YouTube channel. And I was like, just go through some stuff and then let me know if you need anything. And she looks at me when I'm leaving. I got my box, put it in my cart. She looks at me, and then she kind of, and like she was hesitating. And then all of a sudden, well, another checker had walked up. So that could have been part of it. But all of a sudden she goes, I love you. And I was like, I love you too. Oh my God. Big old hug. I'm like, oh my goodness. Right. So remember to stay in your heart space, right? The second you notice that you are getting like out of touch, or things aren't working right, you don't feel well, you're not sure what's going on, like you get antsy, and the first thing you should be doing is I am, right? I am that I am. That puts you right back in your heart space almost immediately. So that get back to where you need to be. And little reminders. I swear the universe sent her as a reminder to me, but she was swearing the same thing. So the universe sent you to me. Okay, well, I think they sent you to me, so whatever. Oh my goodness. All right, so that was super amazing. So we are going to get coherent. We're going to do a quick clearing, and then we're going to do tuning some resonant electromagnetic fields. And just by turning them on, the electromagnetic fields of your heart, your brain, and your gut, and then the whole big one around you, we're going to stay local to ourselves. Only work on yourself. You're not going to reach outside and try and operate the one that's around the world and then try and change the world with it. Don't do that. Let the world be the world. Only work on you. And then once we get there, we're going to come back and I'll go through the lesson real fast. All right, so take a deep breath, big inhale, nice long deep exhale, close your eyes. If you want to focus on your pineal gland for a second, put your awareness there and let your pineal gland open as you're inhaling and exhaling. I just learned this the other day, or relearned it. When you close your eyes, your pineal gland opens like a pine cone. So as you are inhaling and exhaling, your focus is on your pineal gland. And then we're going to let that just open. Keep breathing, keep noticing your pineal gland. When you're ready, move your awareness down into your heart space. And I want you to find that sense of peace, gratitude. With your awareness there, we're just letting the heart open up. Become aware of your I am self, all of your focus here, all of your awareness here. And you might notice that if all of your awareness is in this place, you're not thinking. Your mind should be relatively quiet. And in that quietness from your heart space, I want you to recognize that you are the I am presence. The I am presence manifests in this physical body. As you're breathing, I want you to inhale the feeling that you're feeling from your heart space all the way up into your brain. So inhale the feeling that you're feeling all the way up into your brain. And then as you exhale, I want you to let that feeling move all the way down into your gut. So we want the head, the heart, and the gut feeling all the same feeling of peace. Just breathe that in. If you're just entering the room, we're just breathing, we're getting heart coherent, we're actually getting our whole self coherent, heart, brain, and gut. So breathing in your awareness in your heart space with the I am self. And as you inhale and exhale, find that sense of peace, sense of gratitude inside your heart space from your higher self. Breathe it up into your brain and then down into your gut. Recognize this is you. Your I am self is the presence of you. Be open and curious, the curious observer. And I want you to step back a bit from your physical body. Just become aware, notice your physical self. And we know we have toroidal fields around the physical body. You have a toroidal field around your brain. You have one around your heart. These are all measurable. It's very scientific. You have one around your gut. You have one around your entire body. These are electromagnetic fields. I just want you to become aware of those. So now you're curiously observing your electromagnetic fields. The I am is the trueness of the self that you are. We are telling our I am self, as our I am self, I am the tuned resonant electromagnetic fields of this body. So now not are we only heart, brain, and gut coherent, we're bringing these resonant electromagnetic fields in tune with our heart, brain, and gut. Everything is set to peace, everything is set to gratitude, everything is set to unconditional love. From this state, notice who you are. I am that I am. Aya Asher Aya. Breathe it in, inhale it, exhale it. And I want you just to recognize, go through your body, see if you can find anything that isn't I am, that isn't your higher self. This is the easiest way to clearing the entire system rather quickly, is to participate as the I am self and then go looking for stuff that's not. And just by shining your light in that space, if there's something there that is not of your I am self, if it is something else of a spiritual nature, my guess is it'll leave. They don't usually stick around very long. If it's something emotional or something from your past, something traumatic, your perception of that thing will start altering just by shining your I am light on that thing. And you are being a curious observer, becoming more and more aware. You can watch your toroidal fields, those electromagnetic fields. And as you inhale and exhale, I want you to see if you can make them stronger. Using the energy of your I am self, the energy of the cosmos within you. It's all inside you. Nothing is outside of you. Keep breathing it, keep experiencing it. Recognize this is you, there isn't anything else. This physical body is just a vessel that you get to walk around in. And from the I am self, we're going to bless this vessel, tune all of our organs to their resonant electromagnetic field so that they're whole and healthy. Becoming you as the I am self in this now present moment, nothing else. Just in this present moment, here we are. Now I want you to feel your peace, find your sense of peace. Loving yourself more and more deeply. Recognize this feeling is you inside the physical body as your I am self. And when you're ready, I want you to open your eyes, but I don't want you to let go of the feeling. So you're going to keep this feeling. Gently open your eyes, recognize your outer world, but stay inside your inner world. Some of you walked in right into the middle of that, but welcome. So we wanted to get coherent first, and then we're going to talk about a few things, and then we're going to go back into the field and play around. So I'm going to tell you this, and I'm not going to go into any depth on it. I just want to throw it out there as something to think about because I'm still pondering it myself. How many of you, we'll ask this question first. How many of you believe that we live in a holographic universe? Yeah? Yeah. I can't see you, Mary, so I'm not sure what you think, but we're going to assume you think the same thing. And if you don't, that's fine. So if we live in a holographic universe, I want you to understand this. And I don't know that I understand it. So maybe if you understand it, you can explain it to me. Somebody had written this in something I was reading the other day, and I was like, wait, what? In a holographic universe, there are no boxes to think outside of. That one kind of shook me. I was like, wait, what? So we literally build our own boxes. We all know that. But if we are truly in a holographic universe, so you're either here or you're there, right? I am here or I am there. And if you are the I am and you're participating as the I am, you're always here and there. If it is a holographic universe, there's no boxes to think outside of. It's just the hologram. And all thoughts are contained inside of it. Okay, so what this is about, what I'm doing tonight, is it's about thinking differently, possibly, than what you're accustomed to. I have been in my silent meditations going through this and going through it. And it's just like representing itself. I'm not thinking about it, it just keeps showing up. I want to show you a screenshot real quick. We are talking, when we get coherent, we're using the heart, the brain, and the gut, right? It's the same kind of coherence that we always, there we go. Can you see that? Did that show up? Yeah, okay. It's the same thing, we're always getting coherent, the heart, the brain, the gut, right? If you put your awareness on your electromagnetic fields, on the toroidal fields throughout your system, those get coherent too, just by way of your awareness, right? You put your awareness on something, something has to happen. If you're coherent, they get coherent, yes? So the brain, the heart, and the gut separately function. They separately function all on their own, and they service in those functions. But I want to read this to you really quick because I found this fascinating. So this is chrome, nickel, and steel, and actually what they make are stainless steel. So this says we put down the tensile of strength in the commercially available iron. The highest that we possibly accredit is about 60,000 pounds per square inch, PSI. Of chromium, it's about 70,000 PSI, and nickel, it's about 80,000 PSI. The tensile strength of carbon and other minor constituents come to another 50,000 PSI. Adding up all the strength of these links, we get 260,000 PSI, right? So that would be for stainless steel. So if you had these parts separately, right, and the numbers are listed out there, pounds per square inch, what they can tolerate if you're squeezing them or squishing them. Squishing is a scientific word. So by themselves, that's what they do. But when you put them all together, the chrome, nickel, and steel runs about 350,000 pounds per square inch. So what it says, the last sentence is what kind of made me blink, was here we have the behavior of the whole, right? All of the components together as stainless steel, completely unprecedented by the behavior of the parts. So the behavior of the parts was one thing. You put them all together and the behavior of the whole is something else. Does that make sense? What I related this to was heart coherence. When you have your brain functioning, it serves you, it does one thing. Your heart will serve you, it will do something else, right? If you're operating from your heart. Your gut serves you by letting you know what's going on in the world around you, right? As a whole functioning unit, which is what we strive to do every time we get coherent, we bring the heart, the brain, and the gut into the same level of feeling. And it doesn't function the same as each separate part by themselves. Now you have a whole separate functioning system inside of you that serves you a totally different way. Most of us haven't tapped into much of it, right? As the wholeness of that unit, whatever you call the whole thing through your system, your core. I think I used to call it the core. So we use them coherently, all of them together, and then you add your toroidal fields on top of that, and you get a whole nother, right, probably level of function. If we were equating it to PSI, it would be even higher, right? So if you're only operating out of your brain and your PSI is like 70, right, people can squish you pretty easily. If you get coherent heart, brain, and gut, it's a little bit harder to shake you, right? I operate at a higher level of PSI. If I throw my toroidal fields in there and everything is functioning together, it's even harder to shake me. You can't move this, right? I become really steadfast in my I am self. And then I think that's where we start tapping into our own unique powers, for lack of a better word, right? That's where the power lies, okay? And once you're there, you have to think different, right? So we're always trying to say, I always tell you, don't think, get out of your brain, just be here. But if you do think and you're in that coherent of a place, everything is all moving synergistically together, you will think differently. You can't think the same as you did the way you were taught, right? Okay, now we're going to kind of switch this a little bit and then we'll come back around. Hopefully we'll get this into a big circle. So now realize that there's matter, right? There's matter all around you. Recreate that by thinking. Yes, right? You create by the way you think about things. And then you throw into the quantum, go into the quantum field, and you understand that the atom is 99% empty space. So what they tell us creates matter is actually mostly empty space. So think every atom of your body, mostly empty space. And by empty space, I think you have to realize that doesn't mean that there's nothing there. Right? There's something in the empty space. There's something very operative in the empty space. And that space becomes immense when you engage, right? It becomes immense. So today what we're going to do, we're going to go back into our heart coherent state, or our coherent state. We want to glean evidence by experience, this empty space. Can you see it? Can you feel it? Can you notice it? What's in it? Right? This is where it can get kind of fun, because this is where you can start engaging your power. It can start get very interesting. Remembering that the atom is 99% empty. There's a lot of playroom. There's a lot of room to move around. You can think of it like this. In Taoism, they teach that the space in between, right? And that's the space in between the cells, the space in between the atoms, the space, they call it dark matter, would be the same idea of this space, is where the mysteries lie. These are where the mysteries are. It's where your power is. It's where freedom is. And recognize this is not outside of you, it is inside of you. None of it is outside of you. So what they say to look at, what Taoism looks at, is picture a tiger in a cage, right? So maybe the bars of the cage are, maybe 2 inches around. I don't know what it takes to contain a tiger, and maybe 3 inches apart. So you've got a bar, and then you've got a space, and then you've got a bar, and then you've got a space, right? So picture yourself as this tiger inside this cage. What do you focus on? Because what you focus on is what you create. Think about this for a second. And I want you to focus on the bars. So just for a second, if you need to, close your eyes, but I want you to focus on the bars of your cage. What do you notice when you focus on the bars? And now shift your focus a little bit and focus on the space in between. What happens? What do you notice? And then I want you to, we've played with the periphery before, right? So your peripheral vision, the idea, the vision on the sides. I want you to pull the space that you're focusing on into your periphery. Pull that space into the periphery of your vision. Now what happens? If you could stay here long enough and just be in the space in between, we all know there's something about the peripheral vision. Even if you're looking straight forward and you hold something in your periphery, it alters it. Would the bars just melt away? Everybody's shaking their head yes. Isn't that crazy? It's the most interesting thing. So the box that's not there, in the holographic universe, there are no boxes. I think you just found the holographic universe. Yeah. So close your eyes again. Take that few deep breaths, inhales and exhales, go back into your heart space. Recognize your I am self, that higher self, your spirit, Ya, Ashura, Ya. Let your heart open. And maybe start with your physical body. Maybe start with just an organ. If you have an organ that's misfiring or having an issue or an illness, I want you to go into the space in between. Notice what you notice there. So I'm using my lungs. I've been playing with this a lot lately. And then I move my lungs into the periphery of my vision. And all I'm noticing is the space. The tissue's gone, the issue's gone. Just go through your body and play with different organs. Maybe your whole body. The space in between the atoms. The empty space inside the atoms themselves. And then pull it out into the periphery of your vision. I want you to really get open and curious, kind of pull yourself back, notice yourself watching yourself do this. And I want you to try and feel the energy, feel the power. What does it feel like? So you're noticing your body, what it's feeling. I've been playing with this a lot. One of the things that I'm trying to do is trying to figure out how to harness this energy into a mobilized fashion that I can take it and actually use it in my outer world. Yeah? Isn't that what the magicians of old did? I think that's what King Solomon figured out. Harness the energy. How do you, and you can ask your spirit, you can ask your I am self, how do I harness this energy? If you're good at listening, you might hear the answer, you might get shown something. I keep getting told it's a matter of practice. You just have to stay here and keep playing with it. I've been told to try and localize it, right? So the energy is all around you. Can you localize it to one central place, like maybe the palm of a hand? And then can you send it forth? I haven't been able to yet. I keep trying. And then take it even into your outer world, right? We've created all of the substance outside of us. Take it into your outer world. Maybe notice a wall or notice a door. Notice it is 99% space. What can you do with it? I've seen magicians lately that can do some really crazy stuff. And I actually saw a man, he was on the street in Vegas doing some really crazy tricks and card tricks, all kinds of nutty stuff. And the dude that was watching him kind of jumped back and he goes, "You have the spirit of evil on you, and that evil is causing you." And the guy goes, "No, I just figured it out. I figured out how to harness the energy." And I heard him say that, and I was like, and I think there's quite a few actually at this point that have figured it out. I don't think it's a spirit of evil. I don't think it's a demon. I think they literally have been playing with this same idea and they have figured out how to use it. If you know who Grandmaster Wolf is, I don't know if anybody has heard of this guy. I just recently found him on YouTube. He has videos on YouTube where he's literally standing there focusing energy and he'll crush like a soda bottle or a soda can. And he goes, "I don't usually put stuff like this out there because it's kind of, people will think it's egoistic." He goes, "I just want you to see it's possible. I just want you to see that you can do this." He goes, and this is like minimal stuff. He actually took a glass. It was like a heavy metal. Oh, what is the word I'm looking for? Like a cup with a leg with a stem. It was like stemware, but it was metal, like you would see in a Roman Catholic church drinking the blood kind of idea, or the wine. What are they drinking? I don't want to know. Sorry, my brain just went. And he put it on a glass, like a glass top, and then he had a grid underneath it, so you could see where he sat it. You could tell by the grid. He's like, "Just watch the grid, don't watch the cup." And you look at the grid, and all of a sudden the cup's like moving, like all over And he's just standing there like this. And you could tell his eyes were what was guiding it. He's like, I just want you to know it's possible. But you got to play with it, right? You got to stay coherent, have to keep everything fluxing in and out of the field. I think that's part of what the space between is where the protons, I think it's protons, maybe electrons are fluxing in and out of the field, right? It's that wave they talk about. And you almost like you have to catch a ride on that wave, because once you're there, once you're in the space in between, it's only a matter of just, all right, how do I utilize this? How do I harness it? How do I focus it into whatever I'm doing? Thoughts, ideas, questions, concerns? Open your microphone if I hear a lot of thinking going on. What did you feel when you were in the field?
I was listening. It's interesting that you brought all of this up today, because I was listening to a book by Greg Braden. It's the lost language, I think, of God, and towards like the end chapters, and what he was talking about when I was listening today was the scrolls, I think, of Isaiah, but they're the Dead Sea Scrolls, so they're not. I don't think they're ones that are in the typical biblical text, and what he was saying from what he was reading there was basically that whole idea that we have the ability to move mountains, but he was breaking it down to, if you align the thoughts, feeling, and body. So aligning those three things is what allows you to do those things. I wonder if that's what these people have found as well.
We'd have to ask them.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
And I would assume it would have to be, like, on some level, the thought, the feeling, and what was the third one you said?
Body.
Yeah, and your body. So we're getting coherent, and then your thought has to be coherent, right, with whatever it is you're doing. This is where most of us get in trouble, because we're still operating in the past.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm getting coherent, but I'm sitting here thinking this will never work.
Right.
Right. Or I can't do, or whatever your thought is. So this is where, when you go into the space in between, what I have noticed is those thoughts go away.
Yeah.
Because the energy, whatever it is, if it's energy or if it's like spirit, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, is so high or so big, so expansive. Everything else just gets shoved to the side.
Well, I think the other thing, I think you're right. And I think the other thing is that we don't necessarily know how to utilize feeling. And he was talking about how he believes that there's another form of prayer, and essentially it's feeling. And so he gave an example of this Native American friend who went to go pray for rain. And
so I love that story.
It's so cool, right?
Yeah.
That all he was doing was feeling what it's like when it rains. And that was his prayer.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So
and I literally think that's it. But I think part of it is the ability to do that.
Yeah.
Because I hear a lot from people, and they'll just be saying, like, well, I don't know what that feels like. I'm manifesting money. Well, what does it feel like to have $10,000? I don't know what that feels like. Feel like gratitude, right? It feels like hope. It feels like love. It probably feels like peace. It feels like freedom. But if you take that and you go into the space in between, all of a sudden, I think the feeling level, another place we can get messed up is the feeling level that we were taught we've talked about this a ton before. The feeling levels that we were taught, or the feeling, yeah, levels, I guess is a good way to look at it, are different in physical form than they are in spirit form. Right? Love is different. Peace is different. Right? You're not going to find the peace that passes understanding by trying to create war to find peace. It just doesn't work.
Like, for example, I was driving down the highway and there's all these Bucky signs down here. And there was a sign that said, live, love, fudge. And I was like, what? Like, there are these two like spiritual, like full, deep words, and then fudge. I was like, that's like this period at the end of a like, you know, where it doesn't belong.
It was probably a chocolate store.
Well, it's they sell fudge, right? Like it's this big, and I was like, seriously, like you just took live and love and made it material, where those aren't material things.
Right. But most people think they are. Most people, and they don't even think, they just, that's what you were taught. That's how you live. Yeah. But when you get into a space where you're like, okay, there's got to be something beyond this. Yeah. There's got to be something more. Yeah. That's when you recognize fudge is probably not the love that you're looking for. Oh, too much. Mary, I saw your microphone came off. What do you have?
Well, I came here tonight because I've watched some of your videos before. I've even talked to you some years ago, I believe, on the phone, or maybe on Zoom. And I just wanted a group to meditate with. And I know I really enjoy your insights and your guiding, and it's benefited me before in the past. And tonight, I'm sorry I was a couple minutes late. I hope I didn't disturb anybody.
No worries.
But I had never even considered visualizing the torus in the head and the heart and the gut and the whole body. So that put me in a very expanded state. And then with the idea with the tiger, I had listened earlier in the afternoon when you put up the notice. Thank you for the notice. I'm so happy I got your notice. I saw the bars, the bars on the cage as being my mind has been so aware of all these different aspects of physical life, what's going on right now, all of these issues around the world and what's coming, and just like it has been for the past 2-3 years, right? But on steroids. And then when I looked at the space in between, I realized, and when you said periphery, that was perfect, because that just expanded it and the bars melted away and I had space. So I want to thank you very much, Christy, because, and for Shamina and Joe, because I'm sure the space that we were all meditating in was just creating this, made it possible for me. So I really needed this. I really needed it. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad you came. I am very glad you came. We try to do these at least once a week. Sometimes I make it and sometimes we don't. But if you give me your email, I'll make sure you're on the list. So I send you that every time, because sometimes I just grab all kinds of stuff off whatever email list I'm looking at, and we'll make sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. I will. I am profoundly moved by your visualizations. It was just what I was looking for tonight. Thank you for doing that.
Ta-da! and here we are. I was told by a friend of mine. I have a really good friend who's an energy worker, and she slaps me around pretty good sometimes. And I was griping about all this stuff that's going on, right? So like, is it this or is it this? Because you can, and she's like, well, there's two levels. Like there's two, it depends on how you look at it. And what I walked away understanding, her name's Deb. What I walked away understanding from Deb was that if you look at it like this, that is where you will end up. You will stay in the third dimension. You will continue in this vein. You will be back here again. You will not ascend. You aren't going anywhere. I was like, she goes, but if you look at it like this, and that's where all this came in, because I was asking Spirit, where is this? Like, how can I understand this so I don't forget, so I don't get lost in this again? And this is what I was shown, was the space in between is that step up into a higher consciousness. It's going to be that step up into what some people are saying is the fourth, fifth, sixth, whatever, right? Claim your dominion in whatever dimension you want to get to, right? And she was like, if you remain here, you will remain here. But if you, and the space in between, the tiger, that was the first story I heard, was the tiger and the bars. Look in between the bars, and then you'll see where you can go. Look at the bars and you will see where you're going to stay. Yeah.
It's fairly hidden. And I've heard from many masters, most of them from the East. But even Jose Arguelles, who spoke about the Mayan, and he did it back in way before 2012, and I read that book, that beings and consciousnesses from many realms will gather around to watch at this particular time.
Yeah.
And that there, even though things are terrible, there will be no, this is to have the gift of reincarnation, to have an incarnation at this time offers an opportunity that's not available, that you can more quickly ascend or escape or whatever you want to call it.
But I would even encourage you to look at, like you said, even though things are terrible, what if it's even though things are amazing? Like, because if I look at the bars, things are terrible. If I look at the space in between, I'm in awe.
Yeah. You're right. There you go. You're
blown
right.
away, right? So now we're back to paying attention to what we're looking at. And you'll stay coherent longer periods of time if you keep looking in the space in between, versus, because I tend to bounce back and forth. I'm like, okay, I'm done bouncing. I'm just staying in the space in between, back to the periphery. Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. Insanely. I don't know that I'm right, but it's helpful.
No, it rings true. I say
Good.
you're right because it resonates in me.
Bless you.
Can I
Shanita.
add?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I just want to add to what you're speaking of, and as well, the bars image was really helpful for me as well. And I just bring this up because what I was reading seems to so fit like what we're talking about today. But one of the other things that Greg Braden was talking about was those Isaiah scrolls, and he was basically talking about visions that Isaiah had, and that he saw two things during like the end period, which was the destruction and war and like chaos, and the other thing he saw was like beauty and peace, and he was talking about how can these both be at the same time, and he was talking about that very thing of like, where is your focus? And that is what will be happening in front of you.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be where you create, where you end up.
Yeah.
I mean, it could even be equated to the idea of heaven and hell. Do you want to end up in hell? Focus on those bars some more.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Crazy. In the crazy world. Shamina, you didn't open up your microphone. Did you notice anything? I was watching your face and you were killing me. I was like, woo.
I was feeling it. So it's because we talked about this a little bit earlier this week. So I've been playing with it. And yesterday, before I forget, so there's actually a study that they have in psychology. I remember going over this in college, and I can't remember which animal it is, but they locked up these animals. I want to say it was like monkey or rabbit or something like that. But they locked them up in cages and would give them food and feed them in between these cages. And they exposed them to it for so long that they would occasionally open the cage and the monkeys would try and get out, right? And then they had trained them that when they would see the cage, they would stay. So they got to this point where they opened the cage and the monkeys just never came out, like never came out, because they just succumbed to this, like, this is my home, this is what I am, this is how, like, I can't ever get out, so why even try, kind of thing.
Yes.
So sad.
So it is sad, but it's the ability that we have to have our attunement, but it's that imagination that we can see beyond what we want to say is material. So I got to actually walk in that yesterday and just stay in it. And it is a hologram. It really is. It shifts everything. It shifts your vision, your view, your words. Thinking's not even thinking. It's more like things are just coming to you and just flowing through, almost like a waterfall cascading through you. And I was saying and doing things that I never would have done on my own, like being very very straightforward and diligent, especially with screaming teenagers, of just being very solid. And it is a place, and that's the thing that kept coming to mind, is that you can create your own heaven on earth. This is heaven on earth. It really is, just in the way that we know that we are made to live it. That's the truth, right? And more than anything. So when I was in it, things were coming up, and I just emotional things, and just saw them for what they were and let them go, and able to create that energy and move it around. And it was really cool. It'll be cool to try and see if I can start moving things. That'd be awesome. But yeah, it's one of those things that I think we doubt that we're able to do it, because we don't, somebody had said that once, that we don't believe it because we've never seen it, whereas opposed to the ability to just see what is possible, and then feel it and do it because we know that it is.
And I would go back to what Jill was talking about, what Greg Braden speaks to, is once you get into that place, find the feeling. And if you have to, label it, because if you label it, it'll be easier to get back to it. I don't know what it is with us and labels, but we like our labels. So find the feeling and then label it. Like I was going into the space in the wall and just feeling the space, just to see, like, what are the difference in the space over here and the space over there. And some of them, like the space in my dog, definitely feels different than the space in the wall. And one felt cold and kind of, the wall was cold. And my dog felt really like skittish and shaky, like she had some stuff going on. So,
Taz, she always does.
Yes, Taz the spaz. But feel it, right? So you find the feeling, because feeling is the ultimate form of prayer. So if you can feel it and you can remain in that feeling, which is where the bars would dissolve, right? If I remain in that form of prayer, my bars dissolve.
They truly do. And that's the funny thing, is once I would just label it I am space. That's what it was. It was just I am space. Nice. But there's truly no bars. There really isn't.
Nope.
It's an illusion. And we just keep, and that's the whole thing, is not agreeing with, and that's what I was being shown a lot of it. It's like, it's your lack of saying no, or your lack of saying yes to things. When we're just passive and we don't answer, it's a submission to it, if that makes sense. And I hope I'm not varying, but it's acknowledging, no, that's a lie. So all day long I was saying, nope, lie, no, lie, no, yes, that's truth, no, that's lie. And it was really just like pulling things apart very quickly, very awesome. Quickly.
And this was with the kids.
Yeah.
Wow.
And out loud. And they were just like,
most of the time they can sit there and just go at it, you know, scream for and yell for hours. And Shyla shut up within 5 minutes. That's pretty amazing. My 15-year-old, by the way, girls, that she just likes to go at it. And for sure. And then 5 minutes and she was just like, she had nothing to say. She went into her room, slammed the door, and didn't come out for hours. So I was like, this is great. Love this. This is great. Because she just wasn't, she had nothing, and I wasn't giving her anything like I would before. There was no fight. There was no argument. It was just like, no, that's a lie. No, that's not. No, what I'm saying is true. And she was just like, wow. So it was a lot easier. There's no struggle there. So it's a great place to be.
And I think that's the constant. If you stayed there even with yourself, a struggle. No struggling. Go ahead, Jill.
No, I just wanted to ask, Shamina, you said something along the lines of like you were walking in it yesterday, and it really is a matrix. How did you, like, I'm just wondering what mindset you got in that allowed yourself to walk in it.
So I just got into my heart space, and I've been practicing and doing it on a constant basis, quite honestly.
Doing just heart coherence?
Heart coherence, but doing the I am and really just resonating it. And okay. I've been more than just once. I'm actually doing it like 3 times a day. So I'm going through a divorce right now, which is great, but it's taking me 18 years to get here because I kept holding on to the other things and going back into the bars and back into the feeling or back into the stories or whatever else. So what I've been doing is very consistently just staying in the I am and recognizing when those things come up, whether they're truth or lies, if they're mine or if they're not mine. And if they are mine, are they the true mine or are they the I am mine? So then filtering those through. And it's not a long process, actually. It doesn't take very long. So I was on my way, just doing that, just making sure that I'm aware of what's going on around me. So I'm more in the feeling of everything, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just more in the feeling. And I was driving and just went into my heart space and just stayed there. And it was just, everything just went like I wasn't even in my car anymore. It was really weird. It was cool because I could just be there. And my daughter was like, "What's up with you?" I'm like, "I'm just here." So that's how I got there. We can all be there at all times. That's the truth, right? But it's that when we say something like, when we reverse that, which I was just about to do that and I caught myself, which I know, Christy, you're like, yay. That it's even in the admission of we are there all the time. We just, it's a choice, right?
Yeah.
It's a choice.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Wonderful.
That made my heart really happy. That's
I
amazing.
caught myself.
That's incredible. Yeah, the walking in, it's like part of the practice, right? You get there and then you open your eyes and you walk around and see if you can field it out. Try it on for size. I've got another one you can play with too. Let me add this on to all this. I wasn't going to throw this in, but it just came back up again into my awareness. So same idea, everything we just did. Get into that space. Go into the space, right? The emptiness, go into that empty space. And it totally quiets your mind down, like in a heartbeat. The empty space can be the empty space of your mind, literally and figuratively, if that makes any sense. Once you're there, once you get yourself there, right? So go back to it. Once you get there, I want you to focus on your pineal gland. So bring all of your awareness to your pineal gland. I had to cough. Sorry about that. So bring all your awareness to your pineal gland. If your eyes are closed, and I had said this, I think before any of you had come on before, your pineal gland will actually start to open. You might start seeing colors because you'll get that piezochromatic effect that happens, right? So just keep all of your awareness at your pineal gland. And now ask for something to happen. Like submit a request to the universe. And you can I am it. You can do I am, right? Receiving, right? Do it in the affirmative, in a high velocity of feeling. If you're already coherent, you're already either in a space of love or peace or joy or gratitude, whatever it is. So amplify that throughout your body, make the feeling bigger. And then from the place of your pineal gland, you're going to submit your request. And the one I was doing the other day was I am this all the time. And then connect that, right? So the pineal gland's open, you're feeling it, connect that back down to the center of your heart space. And if we're using the phrase, I am this all the time, whatever it is you're requesting. So I want you to be able to feel it in your brain and your heart. And then take it from your heart. So we've got your brain and heart connected, now down to your gut. So solar plexus, Dantian, that chi point. And then what I did was I held that in that state, in the state you're in now, I held it until it felt like it was complete. And it might take you a little while. You can stay here as long as you need to. And you can come back to this. I have this recording, so you can get this recording. That when it's complete, like when it's finished, what I have found is the more I do this, the more often I do that little sequence, the faster it seems to complete. Everything feels like all this, it's like puzzle pieces just shifting together. Everything just kind of flows together. And I've already seen things happen because of it. I've already seen, had things pop into my life that weren't there before because I sat there doing this. And I've had it happen before, where you manifest something would be the word we're using for it. Would manifest something. But I'm manifesting things that you can't necessarily see. Right? So I'm manifesting things from the spiritual world, about the spiritual world. I'm assuming you could do the same with physical things, which I've actually worked on that also. I'm working on canceling all of my debt. I'm seeing everything is like zeroed out and paid in full, stamped on. Right? So I literally sit 5 minutes every day. I've been doing this, sitting with that, with all of my bills laid out and everything zeroed out and stamped paid in full. I'll let you know how that goes. It has taken all my worry out of my bills. I can tell you that much. I have like no fear of any of them anymore, which is crazy weird because usually that's the big problem in my house is money. So that's another one you can play with. Bring it to your pineal gland and just feel it, right? Get your whole system coherent to whatever it is you're manifesting. But the pineal, right, is a little bit different than your heart space. But I send it to my heart space too, because I want everything to have the same information. And it just seems to, like, that when it, like, it just shifts and you're like, oh, like you just know that's finished. Like that will be here shortly. So interesting, because there is no lack in the universe, right? There is no lack in the universe. The cosmos has everything every single one of us could possibly need if we only would go to the cosmos for it. We would ask the I am right inside you. It's not outside of you. Inside of you. Go inside of you, ask him. So interesting how things just show up.
Could I add something to that, Christy?
Of course.
It's almost like the concept of the box, that we're in the box, but that our box is so limited in space that we can't receive, right? And we've talked about this a lot of times, that, the quote, but I can only receive so much. Well, I'm only limited to this. Well, I'm only that. Well, I'm only this, or you are, that kind of thing that we talked about. But there's no box, there's no limit to the receiving, none, right? And there's no limit to what we're able to have, because it's not even a having, it already is. We're just not willing to accept it.
Mm-hmm. I listened to a thing with Saint Germain today. A guy was actually channeling Saint Germain, and he was saying, as a Saint Germain, he was saying that in his lifetime as Saint Germain, things just came. He didn't pay for anything. He never had a job. Saint Germain never held a job in that lifetime. And as he was going through life and participating as the I am, because he had already taken himself to such a place that when he manifested that lifetime, he was still aware of the I am, and he just went straight back to it. And he said, people would give him estates. He said he owned more than one estate as Saint Germain, because they would need a healing, or he goes, I never charged for it, but they always paid me handsomely, because the universe has more than enough for all of us. And there was always more than enough. And he goes, I would go live in castles and in these crazy, amazing estates, and then just leave them and give them to somebody else because I didn't need it. Who does that? It's like, right? But mindset, right? How do you put yourself and keep yourself in that space?
Saying yes to the I am.
Always.
Right? Saying yes when you needed to say yes, and saying no when you needed to say no. And he would have never gotten those things had he said no. Well, I got himself back in that box. Well, I gotta go get a job, or I gotta go do this, or no, I don't. He said yes when it showed up.
Yeah.
And then it opens and presents itself.
Yeah. And most of us don't do that. We just are like, oh, I'm fine. No, I don't need your help. No, I don't.
Or it's inconvenient, or I don't see the end from the beginning, or what have you. Just saying
Right.
yes. Mm-hmm. The
That's
yes
amazing.
and no game. It really is yes and no.
Yeah. The yes and no can be crazy amazing. We used to balance yes and no's. When I first started energy work years ago, we balanced yes and no's in people's systems. And sometimes they'd be totally backwards. Their yeses was a no, and their no was a yes. And so you'd have to sit there and get them straightened out so they could feel the difference. So bizarre. But literally, upbringing and parental guidance, or probably schooling or whatever, totally backwards. Very, very interesting. Okay. Well, I told somebody that it would only be an hour tonight. We're already 16 minutes over. Questions, thoughts, concerns? Was that helpful?
Thank you. So helpful. Just what I needed. I'm so happy. I'll give you my email.
Yes.
Do you want me to put it in chat, or just tell you what it is?
Either way, whatever is easiest.
Okay. It's my first name and last name. So it's Mary Shano, which is SCHANNO, Shano, at hotmail.com.
Perfect. I'll get you on that list.
Oh, thank you, Christian. Thank you, Shamina and Jill. Thank you.
You guys are amazing. Everybody in here is amazing. I'm blown away. This was fun. This was fun tonight. They're always fun, but I'm always shocked that they're fun. I don't know why.
Thank you, Christy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Love you guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good night.
Many
We'll see you
blessings.
next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good night.